So you're either watching this because you want to know a little bit about what an editor setup is, or potentially what your setup should be. Maybe you're just getting into editing, or maybe you've been doing it for a while and want to upgrade your gear. Well, I do this like I would have to say 70% of my filmmaking career isn't shooting or traveling or being on set. It actually primarily lives with me being in front of a computer screen and tapping on a keyboard. So I want to talk about my primary editing setup, what you guys should have for yours, and what are some things that are just nice to have. And you know, when you get big and famous, maybe that's when you start using it. But just the primary elements, the need to haves, want to haves, and then the kind of nice to haves later. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start out by talking about the gear. I utilize a MacBook Pro 2015. Now it's a little bit older and I'm probably gonna be upgrading my computer, but I use a MacBook Pro laptop. We'll get a little bit more into the reason why I like using a laptop in a little bit, but overall it's a great powerful computer, and it's really nice to just be able to like get up and go whenever I'm working. A couple good things that you wanna have is like your memory or your RAM. So mine has 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is very powerful. I wouldn't really do anything less than like 10, because nowadays when you're shooting stuff on your cell phone, sometimes it's 4K and even 1080 footage has a harder time playing back when you have less gigabytes of RAM. So the more storage that you have on your computer, the better the playback can be and the less proxies that you have to create when it comes to working on your computer. So again, more memory, more RAM, and then better graphics is always great. So again, my piece of gear is the MacBook Pro 2015. And again, I'll probably be upgrading pretty soon. And I'll have all the specs of my computer in the description below if you guys want to know sort of the geeky terms for all of that. The next pieces of gear that are 100% necessary is storage. Now, your computer will have internal storage. I think mine has 250 gigs of internal storage. You want to not use that as much as possible, because that will accumulate data regardless of whether you're trying it or not. Downloaded footage that you get, or sometimes you'll download footage or assets, or sometimes there's necessary stuff that you just have to have on your computer. So don't fill that up with video files because it accumulates very quickly. I would recommend just getting portable storage. So I like using like little portable 2 terabyte orange Lacie drives or something with a little bit more robustness to them. The reason is I travel a whole heck of a lot, and it is silly to get little like flimsy hard drives. For me, I need something sturdy and strong. So these ones are really good because they do take a bit of a beating, and that's the last thing you want to throw around or break. So I like to have a bit of a helmet on it whenever I travel. Now, that's what I like to work off of. So I work off of my little portable hard drive, but then when I'm finishing a project or when I'm backing up my projects, which is very important, and I'll talk about it in a future episode, you need to have a big second backup drive that doesn't leave, that never moves around, because the last thing you want is for your primary drive to break and you have no backup. So I do all of my backups on a 16 terabyte MyBook drive. Now this is a pretty big system, so if you can't afford a 16 terabyte, at least get a 4 terabyte drive, or even just a hard drive that always stays at home. Again, the more work that you start doing, the more your data is going to accumulate. So have a big backup drive. It is a very good investment. Either that, or whenever you work with a client, just ask them to give you additional storage for whenever you're working on the project, because again, having backups is 100% crucial. Moving forward onto the other more need to haves or want to have pieces of gear, I like having a notebook by my computer or my cell phone, or even like sticky tabs. It's because sometimes you're gonna like write client feedback down, or you have some sort of ideas. It's good to be able to just have something right then and there to just write down certain things or information or time codes or whatever, and then you can kind of reincorporate it back onto your computer. But I'm a very tangible person. I need to have things like at my fingertips, I guess. So that is something that I would like totally recommend always having. And moving from that, this is kind of like the fun to haves. Fun to haves? For me as an editor, I love having tangibility available, and you'll know if you're an editor that there really isn't a lot of tangible aspects to editing. It's probably the least tangible outside of writing when it comes to making a movie. So whenever you have something that you can actually grasp onto, it's great. So I use Pallete Gear for a lot of my editing that I do at home. It's a really useful piece of gear that incorporates dials and knobs to your editing process. So if I want to like trim or skim through footage, I just press forward on sort of my timeline tab that I have here, and that'll skim through footage. I can turn this dial to do some fine tuning. I click a button, it does the cut. I mean, it's crazy. So I recommend taking a look at that. And again, all the products that I'm talking about, I have a link to them in the description below if you're curious about it. But anyway, this thing's great. Like I can literally just, it's like I can build, let's shift from gear and start talking about one of the most important things when it comes to editing, and that is your space. Now that's not necessarily storage on your computer, that just means where you are. Now for me, I actually have my whole editing setup right by a window in my bedroom. Now, first thing you're like, Zach, you should never edit in your bedroom, never have work in your bedroom. Very true, and when I have enough money to have another room or an office, 100% I will probably migrate to there, but for now, I utilize my room because there's a nice source of daylight that comes in, and I actually like seeing outside when I'm editing. It kind of gets me excited, and if I ever need like a breath of fresh air, I can just go outside, take a breather, come back in and start working. So where you position yourself is very crucial to the workflow of your project. So it's just a good exercise and a good thing to have around you when you're working part of your space. Okay, finally, just some of like the little extra things that you can get. I like having a good set of headphones, so I utilize these Bluetooth over-the-ear headphones. But I mean, you just use earbuds or whatever, but I recommend having a decent set of headphones because especially when you start doing more intense work, you're going to need better sounds. You can do some more fine tunes. And one thing that I actually learned from another editor is he edits with good headphones, and then when he does playback or for client review, he listens with bad headphones because there's a higher chance that your client is going to be listening to the audio through bad speakers than good speakers. So if you have a crappy set of headphones on hand, and then when you're editing and doing any like fine tuning, use a good set of headphones. I have these Bluetooth headphones because I just don't like having cords and stuff attached to my computer. And finally, having an additional monitor. So is it valuable to have a second monitor? Sometimes I used to watch like behind the scenes, and editors would have like all of these monitors set up, and I've edited in bays like that before. Now the reason why people have all the monitors set up, if you're ever curious, is because one will be kind of for playback, so your editing monitor, so that's kind of like where your canvas is and where you do all your primary work. And then if you're watching like the final product on your timeline, there'll be another monitor, so a second monitor, big, nice big flat screen or whatever up above, so clients and yourself can see what it would look like as a final picture type deal. And then you'd have a third monitor, possibly to your left or to your right, which will kind of have all your folders, and your organization will be done there. And then your primary monitor in the middle, so this would be your fourth or fifth one, which is your timeline. So that's how you can see like those really big intense setups. For me, I just have two monitors, and the way I've scattered them is I have my primary like timeline and viewers on my main laptop screen, and then I actually use my other screen for folders because I actually, when I work on my projects, I'll have so many different folders going on at once that it's really nice to organize it off of two screens. So one is just dedicated to organizing my footage, and the other one is for organizing my edit. With all of that being said, to be honest, I actually don't like editing with a bunch of bells and whistles. This is my home setup. This is what I have when I get back after long trips, but the majority of the time that I edit, I'm actually very mobile. That is how I work the best, whether it's on a bus or an airplane or at a hotel or my parents' house. I edit from my laptop primarily pretty much all the time. All these little additional pieces of gear and stuff are really nice and they're good to have, but when it comes to my main workflow, it's working just off of my laptop and a portable hard drive. If you're to strip it all down, and there was three primary things that I would recommend for your editing setup, would be a good computer, a strong portable hard drive, and a great space. I cannot stress your space enough. Find something that works for you. Again, for me, I'm not good at working in like cluttered areas, like coffee shops that are loud. I like working off of planes and buses because there's zero distraction. I'm on the go, and there's no kitchen, there's no person to talk to. It's just literally me and my work focused. So anyway, figure out what your wants and needs are, what your likes are. For me, I've just had years and years of practicing figuring out what I like as an editor. There is no right way or another, but just because you see like big editors with these big setups doesn't really mean you need it. At the end of the day, it's what you end up getting on screen, and same goes with like filmmaking too. not about the big crazy gear, it's just about how you achieve that final image. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the content that I'm creating in these videos, want to help me out, it would be amazing if you give me a subscribe, like this video, share it to all your filmmaking buddies or editors that you know who are possibly wanting to expand their gear. And if you want to follow my life just a little bit further, you want to see what I'm doing personally, you can follow me on Instagram. I got tons of stuff going up there. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and just keep making some great videos. See you later.